Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your fearless host, Angie Scott.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm your host, Angie Scott. So I literally just got back to Nashville for my first ever LBAA Women's Pro Bass Tour Tournament in Dallas, Texas on Lake Ray Hubbard. I was there in the brand new Key West 230 Bay Reef, and let me tell you, although I had a lot of anxiety going into all this, only having a couple days with the boat prior to hauling it down there for the tournament, basically just enough time to make sure that all the systems function properly. This was probably the best case scenario boat to have for the conditions on that lake. It's a big open lake, very shallow, so any kind of wind produces quite a bit of waves, and we definitely had some wind throughout the week that we were down there. We did have an issue with the Garmin Live Scope and the trolling motor pairing that we kind of knew might be an issue going into it. Worked well back home when I tried it out, but once we got down there, learned pretty quickly that that wasn't going to work. Tried a couple different things, made some adjustments, and still just basically had to scrap the live scope for the tournament. So didn't have a front graph, which was a little bit of an extra challenge, and it also cut into my practice time trying to get that sorted out. But all that being said, I have no regrets. It was a tough tournament, but now that the first tournament jitters are gone, I am more than fired up for the next one, which is Lake Hickory in North Carolina in just a few weeks. So really excited, getting ready for that now. And if you missed it, we have started a Women's World of Fishing Monday Night Takeover with my fellow LBA tournament angler, Barbara Harris. And so we go live every Monday evening at 7 Central, 8 Eastern. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, all sorts of different platforms. We're using the StreamYard platform that we can stream out to several different places at the same time. So we had our first one right before the Ray Hubbard tournament, and then last night, if you're listening to this as this episode comes out, we did a Ray Hubbard recap featuring our special guest, the co-angler champion from the tournament, Sherry Jacks. So I'm going to share that conversation with you guys on this week's episode, and I hope you enjoy.
Hey everybody, and welcome again to Monday's Women's World of Fishing Monday Night Takeover. And again, I apologize for us being late. This is only our second show, and it seems like each night we just have something come up with the software, but we're going to get this figured out. So again, it is totally my fault, and I apologize. But tonight we do have something special that we're going to do. We have a guest that's going to be coming on here probably in about 10 minutes. But last Monday, we had a preparation show for the kickoff tournament at Ray Hubbard with the Lady Bass Anglers Association. And this show is the after effects of the tournament at Lake Ray Hubbard. And let's just say that from my perspective, I'll let Angie speak about hers. It was nothing like what I expected when I took off for the 1,000 miles one-way tournament. But we'll get into that a little bit more. But Angie, was it anything like what you expected when you took off?
A little bit. So I had a lot going on leading into this tournament as far as just getting the boat on the Tuesday before we left on Saturday. We were actually going to leave Friday and delayed it a day because we just weren't ready. We had too much going on. And so we were going to make it a 2-day trek down there and ended up doing it in one day on Saturday. and literally had, I think I mentioned this last week, like 10 minutes with the boat before we left just to make sure that everything worked before we actually got down there. And so I was kind of more focused on that than so much as the fishing, but I had heard that Ray Hubbard is, in general, a tough lake to fish, tough conditions typically because it is such a big open space and it's a shallow lake, so any kind of wind really makes for tough conditions out there, and we did have a lot of wind in the forecast, so I was concerned about that. New boat to me as far as style of boat, because I mostly run pontoons or tritoons. Quest pontoons is what I've been running for the last 5 years. And so going to a center console Key West was something totally different. Also just kind of outside the box for bass fishing in general. Most people run your standard bass boat. I think in this case on this lake, it might have done me good to be in that center console bay boat. Could handle the waves pretty good, and we didn't get wet at all, which was awesome, except for a little bit of rain. But I also had that nice T-top cover. So yeah, no, a little different than what I expected going into it, but I wasn't totally shocked. I did hope that the fishing would have been a little better, and some people did figure out that pattern and bring in some decent bags, but I was not one of those. I was just happy not to get completely shut out.
Yeah. So who got completely shut out? Oh, yeah, that's right. I did. Okay, yeah, I'm one of those.
But you were not alone, though. I mean,
no, I was not alone. But
really good anglers,
But my thing was, and I told my dad this leaving for Texas, because a lot of preparation goes into fishing when you're fishing a big tournament, especially as a co-angler, when you have to take anything and everything with you. And I was, putting my poles in the car and everything. And my dad's like, well, you should probably take a spinning reel, like a, spinning rod and reel. And I'm like, what? I'm going to be in Texas at the end of March. Who's going to be using a spinning rod and reel? Like, really? And I'm like, well, I'll put it in there, just in case, whatever. We don't know what's going to happen. And I couldn't believe that at how much small baits I tried, because the fishing was so tough, and I couldn't figure out, okay, am I supposed to throw something huge, something small? I literally could not figure it out. But like you said, I definitely wasn't alone. The fishing was that tough, and I did not expect it to be that bad going, there at the end of March. I would have never believed it. So
the weather, Texas got hit with that big cold snap, and it just kind of threw the timing off. I think normally this time of year we would have been spot on there as far as at least pre-spawn, if not, the spawn, and that just wasn't the case. So my game plan going in was targeting all those pre-spawn areas, and they were just very few and far between. And so the ones that figured out where they actually were in transition had some luck. So
well, and the guest that we are going to have, here in just a few minutes, I can't wait to hear her spill the beans, whatever she's willing to share, because, we all went out, for the co-anglers, you didn't get as much exposure because you were the one making the decision. Well, her and I both went out with two different people. So that's 4 different pros that between her and I that we went out with. She clearly just she blew it away. I actually, when she
5 actually, because you pre-fished with me as well, or
oh my
practice
goodness, that's
fished.
right. So
Yeah.
that's 5. Wow, I pretty much fished with everybody. But I'm gonna, when I bring her on, I'll put up what she caught for the duration of the tournament, and I'm not going to make her share anything she doesn't want.
Right.
But I hope she tells us what, when, how, where. I'm like, okay, was she? I mean, this is really my thought process, because and I know you saw it too in your boat, like we all saw each other throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And so when I noticed that, I'm like, okay, are we all in these marinas because of the wind or history of the lake, or or is this the place to be? Or am I just in the wrong rotation, of marinas? Is she like casting, really far? Does she have a secret bait? Because this co-angler killed it. And when I say she killed it, I mean she killed it.
There were a lot of factors too that went into the thing. So, I mentioned the wind being a huge factor, and so we were all trying to get out of the wind because it was rough. If you were trying to fish in the wind, some places were doable, but it was tough. And then there was a lot of rain, and so there were a lot of areas, like great looking areas that would have been, you would think they would hold fish all the time, really. I mean, they're just that good looking, and it was like chocolate milk. And so it's like,
I did notice that,
and so it really narrowed down the lake to where it fished really small. Like people said that going in, like, yeah, this lake fishes really small. And you're like, how? This is a huge, wide open lake, but it really narrows down areas that you can actually fish. And then for me, being in the Key West Center Console 230 Bay Reef with the T-top, there's also a lot of really low bridges on that lake. And so initially I was like concerned that I wasn't going to be able to fit under the main bridge that we had to go under to get from the boat ramp to the Bass Pro where we were taking off. And thankfully there was plenty of clearance there.
Right.
So that worked out fine. But there was another bridge that kind of, if I wanted to go north, it was a little sketchy. I wasn't 100% sure that the boat would fit under there, especially with the big waves. You were with me in practice and kind of felt like it would have been fine. But with a new boat and everything, I just didn't want to take that risk. So
blame it off. Let's go.
So I was kind of stuck.
Well, fine.
Stuck to kind of one section, well, a couple different sections of the lake, really. But there were fish there, and I think some anglers had success in those areas. I caught one, on a lay down that I knew there had to be fish there, but then I fished it the next day quite a bit, and I pulled off a little dink from that. That wasn't a keeper, but I don't know.
I would have, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I caught a lot of dinks and stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, what's a lot of dinks? Because I didn't catch a lot of dinks. I caught the one non-keeper with you, the big old drum, which broke my heart. And because I thought it was a really, really nice one. And the picture that your GoPro took, I don't know if it was the angle or how, I don't know what it was, but my dad convinced, well, he didn't mean to. It's not like he lied, but the way that it looked, he thought that it was a big largemouth. I corrected him, but yeah, it wasn't a largemouth. And then I caught one other dink that didn't measure. So I didn't get up on stage or, anything like that. But yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited to introduce our guest for tonight. Yeah. I hope she's ready.
Hope she's willing to tell all.
I know. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, where's my notepad?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. Is she on?
She is. She's been backstage the whole time.
Oh, cool. Dude.
So for everybody who's here and who's listening, Derek, I can see you in the comments. So thank you so much for coming to the YouTube page, because that's the only way for those of you that are listening. Like I've been typing up, if you're looking, the most watches before came on Twitter, and we were not getting those comments. So in order for us to see what everybody is commenting and the questions, you have to switch over to the Women's World of Fishing YouTube page. And then we'll be able to see your comments, including Sherry. So, I guess I just kind of introduced her. But she'll be able to see those as well if you have anything that you want to ask her. So we have the kickoff opening tournament of 2021 Lady Bass Anglers Association co-angler champion with us tonight, Sherry Jacks. So I'm going to bring her on, and we're going to get started with the questions with her. So let me just bring her on.
And real quick, too, while we're bringing Sherry on, just a heads up for everyone. This is actually going to be released as the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast episode tomorrow as well. So,
good deal. So they can catch it.
Busy week
that way.
Yeah, exactly. And, busy week with everything going on. So, just a heads up on that. But Sherry, welcome to the Takeover tonight.
Good deal. So can you hear us okay and everything?
I can hear you. My camera's a little crazy, but I can hear you guys. Thank you for having me on tonight. This is really interesting. My first podcast, so I'm excited.
Well, good deal. So I wrote down your statistic on there. So over a 2-day total weight, you had 18.30 pounds. And for those of you that don't know, for the women's, the Lady Bass Anglers Association, the co-anglers can only bring in a limit of 3. And so This is for 6 fish for you.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's a 3-pound average. I had 1244 the first day and a little under 6 the second day. The first day was amazing, ladies. If I could have brought in 5 fish, I would have had over 18 pounds. It was magical. It was just my day on the water. Seriously. I had
tell us about that, because I've never had a day like that. So tell us.
I made some decisions. I practiced with actually 4 different people. You ladies were talking about how many people you practice with. I was scheduled to practice with Noella McLaurin for 2 days, but she had some boater issues. So she had me practice with the new girl, Stephanie Hempel-Perelin. I went out with her one day, caught a few fish. She did. I didn't have such a good day that day. I was throwing my crusher spinnerbait, and I could not get them on a spinnerbait. I'm thinking, why are they not hitting this spinnerbait? It's post-spawn, pre-spawn.
From billion-dollar ad budgets and arena naming rights to tens of thousands of retail locations, big wireless providers spend big to appear like they're your only option. How do they afford it all? That big bill you get at the end of every month. Mint Mobile had a different idea. Instead of brick and mortar overhead, Mint Mobile is online only. What does that mean for you? A whole lot of savings, because wireless plans from Mint Mobile start at just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You'll save enough that you can get a brand new rod and reel for the upcoming season. For anyone who just hates their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you can even keep your same phone number along with all of your existing contacts. By going online only and eliminating traditional costs of retail, Mint Mobile passes significant savings on to you. Switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. to get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/waypoint. That's mintmobile.com/waypoint. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/waypoint.
I threw the blade off my spinnerbait. I just could not get them to hit it. So I thought, okay, all right, something different. So day 2, I went out and I caught some on lizard, Texas rig lizard. They were hitting the lizard. So I go out tournament day before the tournament. I met up with my boater, Deanna Lover. And Deanna was the best person ever to be in the back of the boat with during this time, because it really could have been hard if she hadn't been such a good pro. We fished seawalls in the marinas, ladies. We stayed in the marinas.
I'm sure we saw you at some point.
You can fish one side, I can fish the other side, and we'll spin the boat. We'll flip-flop. And that's what we did all day long.
Wow.
So I was culling 3-pounders, literally. I would have to lay them on the deck of the boat to see which one had the fatter belly. That's the kind of day we had in those marinas that y'all fished, just like we did. We just kind of hid from everybody. And I'm not going to say the name of the marina because that's Deanna's place to fish. But when I tell you she put us on a honey hole, we sat down on a honey hole. It was nice. She was slow dragging some plastic. We had met the night before, and she was slow dragging some plastics. And I thought, what can I throw at these fish that they've not saw all week? And, I can't throw a plastic behind her throwing a plastic. So I went with a small white chatterbait, being honest, a small white chatterbait with a split tail trailer. And they were engulfing this bait. It was all the way in the back of their throat. And I was catching massive fish. So she told me at one time, she said, you have spanked my tail in the back of this boat today. So she threw a chatterbait the next day and she got some of her fish also. But it was just magical. It was the best day ever.
Wow.
So we had a really good day. The Marines were the ticket. So that's why I caught that big one. I had told Barbara previously, I got in a bunch of gunk. The wind was blowing in this horrible foam. So I said, my reel was just gunking up. So I took a towel and put it and was reeling in my line to clean it. I flipped something on the bell of my reel. And somehow when I hooked that 5-pounder, y'all, my reel stopped working. Everything quit working. I'm screaming. Deanna's trying to dip. I wish we'd have had the GoPro on, because it would have been something for a bloopers video, literally. So threw my rod down and I'm pulling this line by hand, and it was somehow we got her in. I don't know. It happened. We got her in, but it was the best thing ever. It was just one of those magical days. So when I come in and all the ladies are going, I don't have anything, or I have 1, or I have 2, I'm thinking, how in the world did that just happen to me? Because I'm thinking out there that everybody's catching these massive fish.
Right.
It's just the way it went. I mean, it was a really good day. So we had a good time. I love it.
And I think that when you catch them like that, I know I would have felt like that. I would have thought, well, gosh, if I've got this kind of weight and I'm calling 3-pounders, everybody must be doing this, but clearly you guys found something really special.
Well, I found them at practice, and she told me, she said, I found them Monday and I haven't been back all week. She said, I didn't go touch them. She said, so either they're going to be there or they're not going to be there. It's not going to be because she beat them all week, So we went back, and second cast, we doubled up. We were like, oh, nice. Yeah. So it was just it was a good day.
And Deanna is watching right now, by the way, and she says hi. So.
Okay.
Deanna, she is watching right now.
Uh-huh.
We're going to have you on the show, because
I get it. Mm-hmm.
From what Sherry's telling me, I've got to hear your side of the story from a pro's perspective, because you did some things that day that I think is probably not what a lot of pros would do. Hmm. And I want to know why, because I think it's awesome, but I think that there's a reason that you do it. Like I was a co-angler before, and so I really want to give her the best shot. I want people to want to draw me. There could be a million different reasons, but that's a pretty amazing approach from what I hear. I'm up for adoption in North Carolina to draw. If we can set that up.
Fishing a spot that was very tight. I'm not going to say where it was, but it was very tight. So what she told me before we got out there, she said, what I will do is I will parallel the boat and I will throw in one direction for a little while and you throw in the opposite direction, which gave me first choice at that side. She said, then what we will do is I will say swap, and we flipped the boat to where she threw in the direction I was throwing and I threw in the direction she was throwing. So she gave me 100%, 50% of the fish. She did that for me to where she could have sat out to where I had no chance in any of that area.
Right.
So my plan is it's a lot of skill, but it was also Deanna that helped me do that. I've got to give her props for that. So she told me she had never got her limit in the boat with a co-angler. So at the end of the day, it was like 12:30, 12:40. I had caught that big fish. So about 1:30, I told her, I said, look, I'm done. I put my rods away. I said, I'm not going to block you or stop you from getting your fifth fish. She had 4 fish, so I just stopped. And she was that good to me, so I was trying to return the respect because she earned all my respect.
Ready? That's awesome. I mean, I have, and this is the honest truth, and over a decade, I have never, I've had one kind of negative experience with a boater, as a co, but I've never had a horrible experience with a pro. Like they're always fair to us, like you hear horror stories in some other tours, and I've never had an experience like that. Like they're always pretty good at giving us fair shot, but the way that Deanna, we'll switch every 10, 15 minutes. And, if you happen to get some of these fish before me, like that's a completely different, take, which I think is amazing. I'm looking forward to drawing. Wow.
She is she's so nice and so humble. And it's the first time I had been paired with her too. I mean, I knew who she was. We're Facebook friends and we've talked at the launch and stuff like that. But she really, really, really genuinely set me up. She did. Yeah. She gave me first shot at fish. And then which we were throwing, I was throwing the chatterbait, the moving bait, and she was throwing some plastics. It was a little bit slower. And then we just flip-flop. That way the fish wasn't seeing the same thing presented to them all day long. They wouldn't be bombarded, plastics or moving baits or whatever. But yeah, she was super nice. And then I had a great pro day too, which was Cannon Wells. She stepped up and became a boater last minute. And she was really new and she was scared to death. She was terrified of those winds and those waves. You ladies know it was bad. So, but we had a good day too. I mean, it's just, I saw you ladies out there. We were all fishing in circles, just around and around behind each other. But I loved it. I had a great time.
Yeah, because I mean, I didn't want to say anything during the tournament, but I'm sitting there like, oh, I saw this place in practice. I saw it on day 1. Here we are on day 2. I've seen this marina like several times. I've casted at that same twig, but it was like, it was a different kind of lake, because it was, I swear I read somewhere on the internet where somebody referred to it as a small lake. And I'm thinking, I don't know anything about that lake that is small. I mean, it's not real deep or anything, but it can get downright dangerous, out there.
It was very windy, very rough coming across. And then you had to be prepared for those mud lines. You could be, and you didn't know where you could fish at on tournament day. So you had to be prepared for those coves who were like chocolate milk muddy. And then you had the mud lines, and then you may be fishing a bank that's clear. So you had to be prepared at all times to swap colors because, the mud baits aren't good in the the dark colors aren't good in the clear water. So I just kept in the side of my bag, there was like a whole bunch of loose Senkos, whether it be June bug or pumpkin pepper or something, that everything. I had it for clear and I had it for dark and I had it ready to grab. I mean, that's the way it had to be. You didn't have time. So
right.
It was really interesting. Can't wait to go to North Carolina. North Carolina paralyzed me. It was so clear, y'all. I'm from the South and everything is current oriented, and we're 13 miles from dam to dam, so we fish a lot of dark stained water. That clear water paralyzes me, so you'll see me sitting in the back at North Carolina.
Well, I'm shocked at how fast that tournament's going to come up on us. You know, like it's coming, you know, like in a really a month. You know, we're going to turn around and that's going to be, you know, right here to us. And we'll be preparing for that tournament. And
I actually called today to make my reservation for I've got the mobile podcast studio that I want to bring on the road with us. And we got one little issue to work out with the water heater. So I've been kind of like hesitating getting my reservations made. Well, I called the place just about an hour or two ago. They're all booked up. So I'm like, oh no.
Already?
Yeah, already. So I've got another place I'm going to try tomorrow. Hopefully we can get in there, but if not, I guess we'll be doing the hotel thing again, which I don't want to do, but we'll see. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's like a few weeks away at this point. So
yeah,
they're still on the list. So we're held up until we get to finalized as to whether or not we can go. I got the email just a few minutes ago that said there's already 22 on the list, so we'll see if we get to go.
Well, 23, I haven't done mine yet, and I'll get that done tonight or tomorrow.
Well, maybe I'll have to take my boat and go as a boater.
You should.
You know, that honestly, that was my plan for this entire year, was to go as a co-angler for the Texas tournament, because that's just a really, like, it's just way too far for me to be dragging the boat and everything. And then I was going to go as a boater for the rest of the year. But I just, you know, I kind of was, I guess, humbled again when I was at this tournament, because the reason that I had kind of gone back on that was like, you know what, I'm just going to do the co-angler thing again, was because of the whole medical thing that happened in January. And, you know, like we all know how sick that Secret got. And she was my draw for day one. And so when I got that call that she was sick, and at first we didn't think I was going to be able to go out on day one. And if you're a co-angler and you've never been told that before, you know, like it hits you like a ton of bricks. It's like I drove almost 14 hours straight to show up in Garland, Texas. And I'm not going to be able to fish, like, you know, but if there's also one thing that I understand, it's being sick and not feeling good, and obviously not being on the water when that's happening. But I was stressed, you know, I was like, I know a lot of guys in Texas, you know, through my sponsors. I'm like, I'll find me a boat. I'll, you know, do anything. But, you know, we know that Penny, you know, bless her heart, she was like, I really don't want to take out this, you know, $100,000 boat that's brand new. But she did, and I got to fish. But I don't want to ruin somebody's fishing trip, you know, somebody's fishing tournament, because I'm a boater and I'm not feeling well enough to fish. And I'm scared to death that that's something possibly that could happen. And so I'm really, I don't know what to do. You know, if there was a backup plan, you know, somebody else that could go in my spot. Like if, I don't know, if we had a co-angler backup that could always, you know, well, take my boat then, you know, I might be more apt to do it. but we can't count on Penny. She's going to have her boat back.
And that was super brave of her. So quick shout out to her for doing that. I don't know that I would have had the guts on that lake of all things to step up and take a boat that I'm not familiar with and it's somebody else's and it's a really, really nice boat. So hats off to her for doing that.
Floating logs. Me and Stephanie and I, we jumped a whole tree. We didn't see it. It was not there. And when the motor hit it, I guess it kicked it up out from under the water, and it was a full tree. We were like, oh, my gosh. She just come out of the water and sat back down. It was unbelievable. That was a pretty dangerous place.
I would have been okay with doing it, but not with that boat. Not with Secret's boat. I mean,
beautiful.
Right. Absolutely beautiful, just broken in. That was just a gorgeous boat, and I would not have wanted to be the one. And you could tell that Penny, she's like, okay, so like, we're going to go in here, and she's like looking around, looking down, looking at the electronics, I mean, you could tell that she wanted to be really careful. That is not how she would have fished with her new boat. Even though her boat's going to be brand new because they're building it, she wouldn't have been fishing her boat like that. But, it was somebody else's. And, but I'm afraid, to have that responsibility over somebody else. And as far as taking their trip away from them. And some days I'm like, I'm going to do it. I don't care. And then other days I'm like, oh my God, so I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
Well, are you hoping to go as a boater?
Do what?
Are you hoping to go as a boater next year, Barbara?
I mean, I really probably shouldn't even say, because I was going to in 2019 and I ended up at the Mayo Clinic, and then I was going to this year and I ended up like having a new lesion on my spine. So I probably should say I am never going as a boater ever. And I'm going to sell all of my fishing stuff and give up on this dream. And then maybe, maybe things will just fall in my lap and I'll be healed or something. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of sabotaging myself by hoping for things to happen, and just go with it. But I would love to.
But a lot of the tournaments are too far away for me to have to drag the boat. So hopefully next year we'll see. We have a boat, but we swapped and got a new one, and it's a little different from the one that I'm accustomed to. So I guess once I get a little more experience on it and can handle it, because it's so much heavier in the tail end as far as handling in the wind and stuff with the trolling motor. So I'm working on that every single week. So hopefully by next year I'll be ready. I'm just waiting a little longer.
I am not sponsored by this company at all. I have no affiliation with them, but I will tell you this. When I bought my boat, because the plan was for me to, when I got this boat, to go as a boater, and my balance is horrible, my fatigue and like leg muscles, all of that is horrible. I have to say one of the best decisions that I made was getting the Minn Kota Ultrex, because of the spot lock and, getting it to spot lock in the wind, go on continual and stuff like that, because I can, hi Sophie.
Sophie wanted to say hi.
Because I can get it to hold me in the wind, and I don't constantly have to have my foot, on the pedal and taking away some of my strength and stuff like that. And so it's been a lifesaver for me, to use that as a trolling motor against the wind and, stuff like that. So
yeah, we had the oil tricks. It's just taking some getting used to. We hadn't had it very long. So once I practice a little longer on that, I'll be ready to go. I'm ready to step over to the other side. But I had a really good experience this time. So Deanna set the bar pretty high as to what I need to do on the boater side.
Oh yeah, Deanna, and so everybody knows Deanna. She last year was her first year as a boater, and she's from Tennessee, and so I'm always rooting for.
She won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, she won Rookie of the Year, and then this year, I mean, this first tournament was her first time pulling in a full bag as a boater, so that's awesome. That's so exciting, something to aspire
and she finished third in the tournament.
Yeah, she did so good. And she said, she made a comment here. She said to you, Sherry, she said, I was so happy that she caught all the fish, had the best time. Thank you, Sherry. So.
Oh, thank you, Deanna. Can't wait to fish again.
Deanna, are you okay, sweetheart? Because you're about the only woman that I know on tour that would be like, I'm so glad you caught all the fish. I'd be careful, she's probably really thinking like, like I'm about to hurt that girl whenever I see her again. I'm so glad you caught the fish.
I fished with Leslie Anderson one time, and she told me, I'm not going to say in her verbiage what she said because we've all talked to Leslie.
I can imagine.
Told me if I catch one, she's kicking me in the water, and you know what she said.
Oh man, I can only imagine what Leslie said. You know what? I have never drawn her, and I want to so bad. I do. I want to draw her so bad, and I'll probably give her about 25 hugs throughout the day. Literally, I probably will. I don't just think she needs it.
You cannot go in. You have to be open-minded when you talk to Leslie because she'll know your whole life history in 20 minutes, and she will judge you. She'll tell you at the beginning of the day, at the end of this trip, I'm going to judge you on if you're a good angler, if you should go boater, if you're not worth the crap. She said something. They look like crap. They look like crap. She's so, you got to fish with her. You got to know you love her.
Yeah.
I love Leslie.
Yeah, she already knows a lot about me. I've hung out with her quite a few times, and I'm always kind of brutally honest with her, but she knows that I love her, so I'm allowed to be, and she's not going to punch me in the face. That's kind of our agreement.
I'm kind of sad sometimes that I went boater so fast because I won't have the chance to fish with Leslie or Linda or some of these other ladies on the tour, but, maybe not in a tournament setting, but maybe casually, that would be fun. But
and that is one thing though, is like, even if you don't get to fish with them because you're competing against them and stuff like that. We have got invitations to fish, with so many people, like with the LBAA, I tell people, but sure, you can come up to my house and fish, but you ain't going to catch anything over 2 pounds, like up in my area. It's like the Ohio River. That's our home waters. I'm sure they're just waiting to come fish with us, but Robbie and Linda and all them guys, they're always like, come on to Hot Springs, Cheryl's, always come to Texas. Well, won't wait until April. It's a great family and organization, like on and off the water. I always use that term because, I wanted to actually say this in the beginning and I forgot because we were running late, but, Terry Sendrick, if you happen to be listening to this, we all got the information about your dad when we came off the water. I know that was a really bad transition, but it just popped into my head. So we were really sorry to hear about that. We hope you're doing okay. We're all here for you. But that's one of the things, like when I think on and off the water, it's like Secret said when she was on stage, when she found out about Terry's dad. She was like, we're just all so close with each other and each other's family. Like we know each other's family and stuff like that. And I think it's just amazing that we have this big group. Like, yeah, it's fishing, but it's also like we're family. We're each other's family too, and so I really enjoy that we have those two aspects, as part of the organization, I guess, so Angie, you can go fish with Robbie and Linda. They'll let you.
Yeah, and they spent some time down in Florida too, so we were talking about that. That's pretty awesome. So
yeah,
maybe when I get back down to Florida, we can connect and do some.
I'll tell you, I'm spending all of January in Florida. I don't care if I have to be a homeless person. I won't spend January in Kentucky. I'm serious. My last 2 Januaries have been my medical downfalls. So January, I'll be in warm weather.
There you go. That might do it for you.
Angie, I can't on that boat. I heard there was a bathroom on your boat, so I'm all excited about that.
Yeah. I'm one of the few, well, probably the only boat on the tour that has a bathroom, or as they call it in boating terms, a head. You go into the center console, it drops down into the hall. It's pretty roomy, actually.
But it's a bathroom. Let's clarify. It's a bathroom.
It's got a shower in there. No, just kidding.
We're going to use that loosely because it's not like, that I went over the side of the boat. That was a big bathroom too.
We all have that.
But it does give you privacy, and that is a huge plus when you're fishing in marinas.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar homes you're fishing in front of. Yeah.
Tonight, I enjoyed this.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. It's fun to bring special guests on, and we hope to do this more. And congratulations, in this tournament. This is super awesome. I'm so glad somebody found some fish.
Well, I didn't find them. I was put on them, so it was a little bit different. I just had to figure out how to get them to bite.
There you go, and you did that. So that's awesome.
Can you tell me what depth they were in?
Probably 8 foot. We were fishing a seawall. We were fishing a seawall, and it was 6 to 8 foot back there. And some were against the seawall, some was out in front of the seawall, some was in the stalls. We would just kind of, pitch to the stalls as we were going out and stuff. That's where I got the big one. I got a short out there, and Deanna got some out there. They were pretty much, when we entered the place, it was like 10, 11, 12 foot, and, it was up and down all through there. And I don't even know the name of the place because it was raining so hard when we left. I turtled in, and I looked up when she stopped. So that's pretty much the way it went. I had no idea where we were. I trusted her, and she did right. She did what every person with a little bit of integrity would have did. She was good to me, so I have to give her props for that.
That's amazing.
I figured out that's where we needed to be. So
we have some amazing ladies on this tour, and they're helping to raise us into boaters. So we're going to be the same way with the ladies that end up in our boats. Most of us will, that's kind of, how we learn the do's and the don'ts,
That's right.
I figure that's probably what it was with Deanna. And that's awesome that she takes that feeling of I was a co-angler, and, I'm really, really happy for you. You were so excited,
I was. My husband was probably more excited than I was. We've been together for 10 years, and he started me bass fishing. I've always catfished, and he said, do you want to do the couples trail? So we started doing the couples trail, and then after a year or two, I started beating him a little bit. He was like, oh, maybe you need to try the ladies. And I didn't have the courage to do that. I didn't want to step out on my own, but he gave me the little nudge I needed. He said, I know you can do this, and I want others to see that you can do this. So he's the reason why, pretty much. He's my rock. He caddies me to every one of these tournaments, drives me 10 hours there, drives me 10 hours home, keeps up with all my, I really do I've got a support system, and I've got to give him credit for that. So
that's a huge bonus for that. You know, how would you say that your confidence is now, like compared to when you went to Texas? Your confidence, where would you say it is now compared to when you left to go to Texas?
Well, I was really, really nervous about Texas because I don't do well on the open lake concept. I don't know if that was a lake or a river. Here we have river systems. They're dam and current oriented. So I don't know how to fish that. I'm not a largemouth fisherman. I'm a spot fisherman. We have like I told Barbara, we have 7-pound spotted bass here. Everything is current oriented. So when it comes to no current other than wind current, and it comes to largemouth fishing, I'm crippled. That is my downfall. I'm paralyzed. So I just have to get it in my head. You got to get out of that mentality that they're going to be sitting out there in that current. You got to figure out what kind of structure they're behind. What are they hiding next to? Because they're not out there sunbathing. They're hiding close to something and at a certain depth at different times. So you just have to put all that together. And it's not easy. It's not as simple as going out there throwing a minnow on a cork. It's just not that easy.
It's not that easy at all. I know.
No. So, I've got to get to it later.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you at Hickory, and we'll see how all that goes. And I was kind of looking at a map. I've never been there. There's some bridges on that lake. You think I'm going to fit under those bridges?
Yes, and it's very clear. It is very clear. Probably you can see where we went from last time I was there. You go to the end of the dock, and you can see down like 10 or 12 feet. You can see the rocks.
That's like Dale Hollow.
That's how clear this lake is.
Oh, Dale Hollow.
Yes. It's different when you can see the fish because they can see you too.
True. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Thank y'all for having me on. I'm losing my connection 1,000%.
All right.
I'm going
That's
down.
okay. Thank you so much for your time, Sherry, and congratulations.
Yes. Good job.
We'll see you on Facebook. Good night.
Thank you. I'd love to be back sometime. Good night, ladies.
That'd be awesome.
Good
All right.
night.
Good night.
Man, she just killed it.
Mm-hmm.
18.3 pounds and 6 fish. And I didn't land keeper. You had a nice one though.
Yeah, I got a decent. It was a 2.81, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Early on day one, and so I had really high hopes after putting that one in the boat, and I just thought that we would do. And I was with Brooke Johnson, and I thought that she would get some, and maybe a limit. I don't know. It was so early, and it was so nice at that time. It was like the water was odd. It was smooth as glass because it had been raining all morning.
Yeah,
we were getting ready for blast off, and it was raining, and I was like, man, this is gonna be rough. And then we took off and got there, and it was just glass out there, and I'm like, okay, I can handle this. This is nice, and got that fish, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good day. And then after that, it was just we could not get a bite to save our lives. I mean, all the areas that we went to looked awesome. Because a lot of the areas we went to were the ones we went to in those the few hours of practice we had that day. That looked so good.
I saw everybody. I swear, I think I saw everybody at least once during competition days because I really think that it was like kind of like a milk run. Like just on a rotation between the bridges and the marinas. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was people really had that picked out or that if it was just the wind factor, because the one day we had like up to 30-mile-an-hour gusts. But that lake, 30-mile-an-hour gusts on that lake is different than most lakes. So I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah, I thought my lake was windy, and now when I go out there, I'm gonna be like, this is nothing. After being on Ray Hubbard, so
pretty much, you know. I mean, I know how much we like to throw Cinco style baits, you know, and I really like to have them weightless, you know, or net rigged, you know, really finesse, and that was pretty much impossible for that.
I did have a few moments, and that made it tough too. So I had, you know, Texas rigged weighted Cincos and other soft plastics tied on like that, and then we would find a pocket that was super calm, and I'd be like, oh dang, I wish I was fishing weightless right now, but I didn't have those rigged up, you know. So it was like, you know, time and
right.
So that
it would be worth it to do that, and you know, especially for a co-angler, because they have
limited.
They don't have everything with them, and you know, limited stuff and everything. But yeah, at one point I had a weightless one tied on, and I actually had the big one from Runkle, and that one I could throw really, really far, you know, because I forget what inch it is, but I mean, it's big. And, because it weighed so much, I was able to use it for a little bit, but then, you know, when the wind got up there, I couldn't even use it. But it was just, you know, after talking to her, I think a lot of times when I was throwing towards the bank, I probably should have been throwing parallel to the boat or out towards the middle. That would be my guess. That probably would have given me a better chance, but fish were supposed to be shallow. They didn't get the memo. They did not get the memo.
No, but we did our best. It was a good experience. I don't have any regrets. I mean, I got... I had a lot of anxiety, I'm not going to lie, leading into it with this brand new boat, this big lake with the waves and all that stuff and the tree stumps and things like that. And, you know, I'm happy, like I said, to have caught at least one that I got to carry onto the stage, you know, and, next one will hopefully be a lot better. Hickory, I'm really fired up for that now. I'm all that kind of the first tournament jitters are out of the way, and now it's just like the competitor in me is fired up. I'm like, I'm gonna bring in some big bags, hopefully.
And I mean, really, you did, for it being your first tournament as a boater, like, you did great. I don't even know if the very last day of the tournament, I don't know if you even realized what I was doing, because you came right in behind me and Robbie for the number thing. Did you see? Oh, yeah. Did you see me going like that? No, you didn't, because I was doing that, and because, you know, I have Cowboy Coffee Chew as one of my sponsors, and I was like, man, because I had his hat in my bag, and I was like, I'm gonna put his hat on because it was so bumpy and, like, you know, do that. But instead I just turned around and I did that to you because the waves were really bad and you just came in, you know, because getting so close. And all of a sudden you were like, and you were looking for your number. And I was like, I wasn't telling you to get your number. I was just joking about the water.
Oh.
You know, but,
yeah, it was pretty bumpy, and I didn't even know if since we didn't have any fish, I didn't know if we had to check in.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I figured we should do that anyway, so at least they know we're alive. And
well, and I was just going to tell you that it is important that you do that, because they also do it for like a safety type check. Everybody checking in, because if you don't check in, you know, within a reasonable time, at like they will send people out to look for you.
Yeah. I figured that. That's why we went in, and then I was like, oh, we're probably psyching all these people out thinking we've got all these fish,
Yeah, but after a certain amount, you're just DQ'd.
Yeah.
That's
no, but it was a cool experience. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to the next one. We do have a little issue that we got to get figured out how to mount our live scope on the front of that boat.
Right.
Been researching some options today, so called Secret today, and she gave me a reference to a company that makes them. So hopefully we'll get that worked out before Hickory. Either way, it's not the end of the world not to have a transducer in the front of the boat, but it does definitely help. So
you want that live scope though.
Oh, the live scope, yeah. The little bit I did get to use it, yeah, I think it's going to be awesome to have. So
if anybody wants to donate live scope to me, I'll take it. Like
yeah, but otherwise the boat fished great, so super happy with the Key West Bay Reef, a little left of center for bass tournaments, but I loved it. I think my co-anglers loved it, and looking forward to the rest of the tournaments this season. So,
yep, we got Hickory next in North Carolina. Until then, I'm doing local tournaments and still getting out fishing as much as I can. I'm going to be trying some new stuff from my sponsors. And, like we're both with Runkle. I heard that a new bait caster is coming out. I'm excited to try that. The new one that I tried in Texas, I absolutely love it. I threw it a lot, so I'm excited to see where the rest of the testing and modifications are made for that. But I'm just going to be, doing some local stuff until then,
I'll be getting the truck camper ready. Hopefully we can find a place to stay down there, and if not, well, maybe we'll boondock. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but
well, if you guys end up in a hotel this time, make sure it's one that we're staying at too.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Each other this time.
Right. And then, I'll be taking the boat out more on our local lake and just getting more and more familiar with everything, and hopefully, like I say, get that live scope set up and kind of learn that more, and we'll be ready to roll.
Sounds good. And everybody, for next week, we were going to have another guest tonight that fished to the pro side, and she had one heck of a tournament as well. Not going to tell you who it is yet. You'll have to wait. But I did receive a message from her during the broadcast, so I'm going to reach back out to her, see if we can get her on for next week. You guys will love her. She is just amazing. And I've got some questions for her because she inspired me to actually practice something over the winter. And I mentioned her in one of my videos. So hopefully we'll have her on next week. And if you guys have any questions, comments, definitely just send them our way. We'd be glad to answer them. And everybody just keep catching them. Hopefully you're catching them better than I am. Do you have anything else, Angie?
I think that's it. I'll release the audio from this on the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast tomorrow and kind of get some more exposure so some more people find out about it and can join us on these Monday Night Lives. I got back from Dallas and last night and could not get to the houseboat because the lake is flooded. So I'm kind of displaced right now, but I have some great friends that are letting us stay at their house. So, I did check on the truck camper and drop the boat off, and everything is good. So just looking forward to getting rolling with everything. Hopefully these waters recede and we can get back to the houseboat soon. And
hopefully everything gets back to normal for you soon. Yeah. That homeostasis to you can focus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
we'll keep you in our prayers. Hopefully everything goes back to normal for you so you can breathe.
Yeah, I'll look forward to having a little breather.
Yeah.
Soon. But
All right.
good. All fun.
All right. We'll catch you guys later. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
All right. Good night.
Good night.